Hi and welcome. I'm John and this is Unique Wargame Terrain. Guys, welcome back. For everyone that's new, this is a terrain video. Now, what are terrain videos? I haven't seen one before. In my terrain videos, I try and take basic materials. Most of the time it's pieces of scrap, and I transform them into workable terrain pieces. Sometimes these are really outlandish pieces, sometimes these are really basic, simple pieces that anyone can do. When I say outlandish pieces, you still can do them, but it's just out there. That's the gist of it. For all my regulars here, guys, I would love, thank you very much. I'll see you in a minute. Right, so I do have a few other terrain pieces I've been working on, but I've just put them down and haven't touched them. But there is one thing I really want to do, and it's really, the piece I have is absolutely fantastic. There's a few problems with it, which when I show you the piece, I'll run you through it. But I want to try and redo that, but without the mistakes, and make it a lot easier to not only to transport but to store it and everything else. So I'm going to bring it down and show you the piece, and then show you where I'm going to start from. Right, so ignore the 3D printed bits and pieces there, and the glue gun and my pen. This is the piece I'm talking about. It's such an amazing piece. Walkways going across the top, you've got walkways going inside. It's been on in a few battle reports, and it's, we've had a few games with it, and it's really enjoyed it. And it's a very easy and simple piece. The problem is, there's a very, very big problem with this. It's 33 inches by 31 inches. That's the first problem, as one solid piece. What I should have done is cut it into fours, so I could have 4 pieces that they can then line up perfectly in any sort of way to give you different ways of playing. The other problem is, then see this, see that? That's mold. Yeah, that's mold starting to grow on the ash. So I don't know if it's coming through the ash or if it's on the ash, but the ash is from the ash from the fire, and it's all sealed and everything else. I don't know what way that is. The other problem with this is you can't see it from here, but it's starting to warp because it's such a big piece. It's starting to warp. A bit starting to chip away there. It's still a lovely piece. It's still a usable piece that can be put on the table and played. I just want to try and make another one, but slightly better. No, I don't want to throw this away. To be honest with you, I do want to try and hold on to it for as long as I can. But you can see that that looks like mold starting to come through there as well, which is not very good. But it is stored next to the door because there's nowhere else to store it, because the printer's over there. So I'm like, okay, so there's no reason why I want to redo it. So you imagine if that was 4 pieces that could easily be stored somewhere away, rather than it's one big massive piece that's very difficult to do anything with. Even if I took this big piece and I put it on top of there, it would be hanging over too much. Then I would start to go a bit weird. Anyway, so here's my fault. Some people say, what the hell is all this? These are the shelves from in the chest of drawers. Okay. Now, there's 4 pieces. You see they need to be cleaned up and everything. There's blue tack there welded to it, I think. But the plan is, if I can do, not have each one as an individual piece of terrain, but have this as a set. So think of this, yeah, something like this on this sort of size. So I can change this one with this one, and it's still going to give you a unique terrain piece. Now, it's a really weird shape as well, because I've measured it. They're just under, one of them is just under 21 and a half, or just over 21 and a half, should I say. But two of them together work out just over 23 and a bit. Sorry, 43 and a bit. So 44 would be his actual size of the gaming table. Should be the size of the table, I think. Not this table. So any games. Most games are 40k. And it's also, two of them together are just over 23. 23 and a half, thereabouts. So it's not, they're not small pieces. I said that piece is 33 by 33, I think it is. Something like that. So now I'm thinking, okay, well, what way can I do this? Because the first thing I need to do is clean these down. Get some paper wipes and clean them down, scrape the blue tack off of it. And they're nice and flat, so that's a good start. I'm going to get it cleaned down and come back to you with some ideas then. Right, so here's one of those foam sheets I'm talking about. It's the same material that you get the cartons out of. It is very thick, but I like that because I can obviously, there's the join lace, I can cut it straight down and cut each piece to go on each tile, but I can cut steps into it, so you are stepping up onto it. It doesn't mean that you can't just step up anyway, because you can climb 7 inches, I think it is, or 5 inches or something like that in games 40k, but it just gives it a bit more of a better look, and it also gives it something to you know, sorry, the light's going a bit weird. I can pin the bits into it because it's quite thick. Yeah, I think that's the best way. So I'm going to get this cut down first, and then I'm going to have to glue it. Hot glue, I don't think will take it, but I will probably hot glue it, but PVA glue it as well, and then put a weight on top to hold it down. Someone says to me, how are you going to cut that? What I've done is I put the board on top, I've got a pen, and I've gone along, as you can see, and just roughed along the edge. And I'm going to take the blade, and I'm going to use the board as the straight point and the hard point, and just put the blade against it and just run it. Now, I'm not going to try and cut straight through one time. I'm going to try and cut halfway through, take the board away, and then just trim it up again, because I'm still going to cut back a little bit more and bevel just so it sits just into it. Okay, so I've cut them down. Now this one, you can see, it's a bit shy. So there are two of them that are a bit shy. It's still very high, and a few bits of it hang over a little bit, but it's not the end of the world, because once I bevel that down, that's going to bring it, cut it right down. And the way that we bevel it is I take a blade, not the same blade I cut it with, just a different type of blade, and I'm going to cut it at an angle all the way along, like a sawing motion. Okay, whereas the first blade is more of a striking motion, this is going to be more of a sawing motion to give me rough, rugged sort of beveled edge. Okay, I'm going to do that to all of them. I'm then going to go ahead and I'm going to hot glue it to this. As you know, first of all, before I do that, I'm going to cut some steps into it here and there. It doesn't have to be perfect steps, but just some sort of step ways that you can actually see ways of getting up and in. I was thinking of doing one on each edge, but I don't know. I might just do two, because again, like I said, you're going to step straight onto it. I may not even do any. I might just put it straight on. But anyway, if I do steps, I'll show you them. If I don't, then I'll just hot glue them to the base, to the wood, and I will PVA glue it as well. Okay, so I'll put PVA glue on the base first of all, then hot glue. Sorry, light's going a bit weird. It's because I'm filming something that's bright. So yeah, I'll hot glue it and PVA glue it to that, put some weight on top to stop it from going weird on me, and then I'll come back to you then for the next side of it. Right, so now I've cleaned all this down, it's a lot better, as you can see. Now I need to start planning what I'm going to do. Am I going to use expanding foam? Am I going to use polystyrene? Am I going to use this type of foam, which is the same sort of material you use for egg cartons, which is a nice material to use anyway, easy to cut and easy to shape. My initial thought, expanding foam, no, because I don't have that much control over it. My initial thought is polystyrene. That's what I used on the big build, was polystyrene. It's actually the top of a washing machine. The polystyrene comes from a washing machine, and boy do I have some polystyrene here. So I'm going to sift through the polystyrene I have. I'm going to find pieces that I want, start to lay them out a little bit, and then I'll come back and show you that. But there's another question over my head. Do I glue it straight to the wood, or do I put some sort of polystyrene or some sort of foam base down first? Again, that's something I need to think about because I'm not 100% sure. The big build has a thin polystyrene sheet across the top of it. I think the sheet's in 2 pieces, but it has that across the top of it, and then I glued everything, pinned and glued everything to that. I think that's the better option. But that's a big piece. This is not a big piece, and I don't want to have the board and have you know, a big piece of polystyrene / foam. But like I did on the big build, I beveled the edges before I put it on there, so I might do that because I've got that foam material but in sheets as well. So it's going to pain in the backside to glue it on, but I might go that way. So I'm going to have a little think about it, decide what I'm doing with those, and come back and give you a rough idea of a layout. Okay. Now I'm going to use this stuff. Now I've named it heavy PVA, but this is actually called Evo Stick, and it's like a builder's PVA. See how thick that is. It takes ages to come down. It's so thick. I think I paid €10 for a bottle of it. So it is heavy duty PVA glue. This is the kids PVA glue, so you'll see the difference. How quickly that just flows around. Yeah. This one just doesn't want to, moves very, very slowly. Very, very slowly down. So I'm going to hot glue that all together and glue that on, and then I'm going to come back to you when I'm ready for the next bit. Right, so here we are. It's all glued down. There's a few little flappy bits just hanging over here that I need to sort out. The next thing I need to do is get the polystyrene and lay it down the way I'm going to do it. Now, what I'm thinking is, instead of just trying to put a piece here and a piece there and all that sort of thing, I'm thinking about just putting something down that covers the whole thing and then cutting it. So when they line up together, the 2 bits will line up, and when they're separate, they look really cool separate anyway. So I'm going to get on with that, and I'm going to come back to you again. Right, so here's a rough idea. Yeah, as you see, it's not even cleaned down yet, just been cut and just placed. This piece is brilliant because it's all mangled up from the top anyway, from where the polystyrene was stored. But something like this. Now this triangle piece here is actually I'm going to pin it up on top here, so it's going to be like a platform to stand on. Again, this is all just, you know, nothing is attached. It's just been stood, made some steps. There's a gap in there. So you can say, where did this polystyrene come from? These pieces came from those 2 pieces down there, which seemed, I think, some sort of electrical came in there. Just, as you can see, I had to cut them out the middle. I'm not too sure. But I mean, like washing machines and stuff like that, that's not from a washing machine, but a washing machine one has the same sort of alcoves. Now, this piece here was some other sort of electrical box, because it's just an L piece. And then I just cut a few pieces off, and these other pieces here I think are from a washing machine. But I use some of those bits and pieces here and there, not too serious. But now I like this setup because there's loads of ways that your troops can move through and stuff like that. There's open space here, so you can bring a tank into there and stuff like that. Obviously, like a Land Raider can't manoeuvre itself around there, but it still can get into a position where it can block anything else. That's presuming it's in this configuration. It's one thing I love about these boards. You can change the configuration, so I can move this one over to here, and it totally changes the way the battlefield looks. Or they could be separated across the table. Again, it still gives you lovely pieces of terrain. So I haven't even cleaned these down yet. What I'm going to do, how I clean these down, is I will take my finger, run my finger along and sand it with my finger, like so. Let's get all the flappy bits off. Then I'll take a blade that's not sharp, but I'll sort of just give it a bevel, just to try and smooth off of these horrible fluffy bits at the top. But even with that still gives it a lot of character. Yeah. I'm going to do that, then I'm going to come back to you and show you how to pin the pieces into place. So for the next part, we're going to do something called pinning. Now what we do is, I use barbecue skewers. Now you can use cocktail sticks if you want, but I find that barbecue skewers are a lot stronger. So what we have to do is we'll take our barbecue skewer, okay, we'll snip it down, and then we'll put it in. So half of it goes inside the piece and half of it hangs out the piece. Not half of it, but enough so that when I push it into the terrain piece, it's going to pin it in place. And when I put the Evo, the heavy duty PVA glue, the Evo stick, along there, when I pin it in, the pin is going to hold it and the glue is going to then set in place. So I'm going to grab some clippers and the glue, and I'm going to start doing that. Now in terms of you know, this piece with a little ledge on it, you might want to use cocktail sticks just because they're smaller. But I mean, you could easily use this barbecue skewer, just snip it down to smaller pieces, and you want to get as many supports in there as possible to hold it. So I'm going to crack on with that, and then I'm going to come back and show you where we're at. Unfortunately, that didn't quite go to plan. I tell you why. And another thing I tell you, if you are pinning, use old clippers. Don't use your new ones. I forgot this. These cocktail sticks will not go into the base material because the base material has too many pockets. So as you put it in, it just goes in and falls out. Doesn't sit properly. You can super glue it into it, or hot glue it. So what I did, because I haven't fired the hot glue up and I just too much messing around, what I've done is I just PVA glued it. Now the Evo PVA glue, the heavy duty one, there's only a little bit left in it. I need to get some more. So he didn't want to come out as much, and I was like, oh. So I went with the other PVA glue. Now it seems to have stuck pretty well, pretty strong to it quite quickly. I've got the little ruin with the little platform on it. The platform's free floating. I mean, I might have to go over, I might have to leave it to dry and then come back with a hot glue gun and just hot glue a few bits here and there, which I probably think is the best option. I should have gone that way in the first place. But normally when you're using polystyrene, and you're building with polystyrene, if you use a cocktail stick or barbecue skewer, you can pin it. Now I'll show you what I mean. You just take a piece off. Okay, you push half of it into the polystyrene, so you have little bits hanging out the bottom, and then that goes into the base material, and it holds it into place. Now, as I said, this foam stuff, same material as egg cartons. It's just there's too many little pockets in it. And I'll overstrip here. So we get close here. There's too many pockets in there, so it's not a full piece of polystyrene. It just goes straight through. When I push it in, it goes in, it doesn't stay. It's too loose, it just literally just falls out. And when you're trying to put it down, it'll go in and then go sideways. And the way it's doing then is it's breaking the polystyrene up and you're trying to pin it. But anyway, I forgot about that. So all I do, like I said, I'll come back with some hot glue and just, if there's any gaps or anything I'm not happy with, or anything that's a bit loose, I'll just hot glue just one hot bead of hot glue along that and seal it up. And then what I could actually do then is just run a little bit of super glue over the top of the hot glue when it's dry, as you would do when you're hot gluing a model to a base, because the point of contact is so small. Any damage from the super glue onto the actual polystyrene, it's not going to matter because it's going to look like battle damage. But it won't damage the base material. Anyway, now I'll wait the long process of maybe a couple of days for it to fully dry properly, and then I'll come back to you. Right, so I've filled them with some filler, which is basically just filler you put on the wall, wore it down, you know, fill the gaps. Then that's dried. So as you can see, this guy, what I've done is I've just given it a black paint down with a brush. And I was like, you know, this is taking ages. It's probably going to take a good number of hours for this to dry fully. Now, as you can see, there's little bits of white coming through. Don't panic about it too much, because this is just a base colour to clear as much of the white off as possible. Bits like this, little bits coming through the gaps here. When we come to the dry brushing stage, that's going to hide all that, so it's not a problem. So I used the brush on this, black paint, watered down, slapped away, and it took forever. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go back to the other way of doing it, which is underspraying. And some people say, what the hell's underspray? Okay, so this is a cleaning bottle. Okay, been cleaned out, washed out. The tube on the inside has been snipped down, so it's only J-far. The reason why is because the stuff you put into it will start to sediment at the bottom, and you don't want it to trying to suck that up into the spray. I filled it 3/4 with water. Then I got some black paint, some blue paint, some, you know, any sort of bits of paints and washes I've left over. Even some normal cheap acrylic paint can go in there. Then some PVA glue. And then what we do is we give it a test spray. I'll show you over here. So as it's coming out, see how it's coming out? It's just watery paint basically. And as it dries, it's going to give us a basic undercoat on the terrain piece. Now the beautiful thing about this is there's no spray rattle cans. So any bits of exposed polystyrene, if you sprayed it with a rattle can, you would probably start to melt. Doesn't matter how much you filler it and how much you think you've covered, the spray paint will always find one little space that you've missed. It'll go into a tiny little hole and just start melting it away. Now, this isn't perfect, because when you do it, you will have, as it dries, you will have bits of white coming through still. It won't look as good as this. Let me show you. I've done one already. As you can see, there's a few bits of white on the top there, a few bits of white around the side, but it's more of a greeny type of white. But then when I come with the next paint to go on top, it will be fine. But the first thing we need, these are coffee lids, okay? Now the idea is, as you see, I've got a concrete floor here, so I can do it nice and easily. So I put a coffee lid down, yeah, to try and equal the balance of the board, so the board doesn't start bowing or warping or anything like that. I've done that here with this piece. So then all I do is come along and start spraying it. Any bits that are too much will just start to run off onto the concrete floor, which is not an issue. Apart from bits that just drops off. I'm going to finish spraying that. I'm going to give it once over, and then go over bits where the paint has run off and just try to get it to catch again. And that's it, here we are. Now don't worry, it looks a mess. Okay, it really does, but it is fine. Now when it's dry, if you're not happy with the way some of the bits look, just give another spray in those areas. But as you can see along here, it's looking pretty good. This looks a bit too thick, but again, most of that will run off onto the floor. And if it doesn't and it dries there, you can see it's starting to pour down the back there. But if it dries there, it's going to be a darker shade. So when I come with the next colour and go over the top, which will have to be a brush, it will give me dark and light before I've even started doing any dry brushing or anything like that. So I'm going to leave that for a few days. Well, I say a few days. I think that would probably be dried fully, and I'll give it another little spray down again, and then it should be fine for the base coat after that. Now this one here, this should be fine straight for the base coat anyway. Once this is dry, because it's still wet, and then we'll crack on with. There's only 2 more colours really to go onto this to finish them. So I'm going to leave it to dry, and I'll come back to you again after. Right, so that's all dry, and what I went and done then is I added some of this lovely paint. It's called Painter's Grey. Okay, that's the company I get it from. I think I actually get it in the shop called The Range, which is like a knick-knacky shop that has loads of bits and pieces, but that's in the arts and crafts section. Now, when it goes on, it looks black. Okay. As you can see, I haven't gone crazy on the whole thing because I want parts of this green to come through. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take some Screaming Skull and I'm going to give it a quick dry brush. Now, with that said, I love this piece. This piece is amazing. I love this piece. I love that piece. I'm not too happy with this one. Not just with the way that the paint is on it, but also just I'm not too pleased with the layout. When I built it, I thought it was fantastic, but now I'm looking at it and looking at the other ones and going, the other ones look better for line of sight blocking and stuff like that. But it's still a cool piece, don't get me wrong. It's still very cool. Now, in terms of bits like this, when the Screaming Skull goes on, you're still going to see the white. Don't panic about, things like that, because it's going to give it a stone effect. I mean, we look over here, you can see it makes it look like it's stone, loads of little stones put together. Yeah, this is the big build. This is what this is based upon. Okay, so I'm gonna, you don't need to see me dry brush that because it's very simple. I put a little bit of paint on the brush it onto the paper, and then just go across the top to catch raised areas. So I'm going to come back to you when that's done. Right, so here's not one that I've done, but here's one to do, and here's one that's done. You can see the difference. Now, where the bits of white are, where I've got in with the Screaming Skull, it does blend it in. Okay, it does make it look like type of natural stonework just been weathered and worn and everything else. So, that's a bit of polystyrene that broke off. I'm going to just crack on with the rest of them. This one's going to probably come out the best because I painted it black first with the brush, then I did paint as grey. The rest of them are undersprayed, so this one's probably come out the best. I'm going to do this one next. Right, so I'm not overly impressed with this one. I think the layout looks nice, it's fine, there's the walkways underneath, and my business is great, fantastic. I just don't like the finished result of it, to be honest with you. Now I could spend another 10 hours doing different bits and pieces to it. I'm not going to do that. There's other terrain pieces to build, there's other models to build, other painting videos to do. So it's going to be a quick look at it. I'm not sold on it. Now I thought this one would be the best one out of all of them. But again, it's still pretty nice. Very, very nice stonework and very, very easy, as you saw. But I think these ones are actually come out the best. They just look like the ground's been blasted so much, and it's just, there's moss growing across it, and it's all like, grass trying to come through, or it looks poisoned, or it's, it looks, I think actually looks proper wastelandy, proper, really nice. I like these two. I think they're fantastic. I like this one too. I just don't like the other one. But all four of them can go together to make one unique piece of terrain. They can be separated out as well to make other, unique areas and line of sight blocking. That's the main thing that I'm just looking for, line of sight blocking. Now, with that said, I think I spent about a month on this guy nearly every day, like an hour or so, mostly every day, to get this guy looking as good as he does. And there's all hidden little things between pipe works and ash and holes in the wall, the bits around the edge here. I'm not going to spend that time on this, unfortunately. I could add other stuff to it and all that, but I don't feel I need to. For me, it's the line of sight blocking. They come together to make one piece of terrain. They can go single to make their own piece of terrain. So I think they look great with models on them, as you can see. The Hive Tyrant and the Two Warriors. Then the Wraith Guard over here. That's great, hiding away, blocking line of sight. I think it's really cool. But anyway, you guys let me know what you think. So, there we have it. I only started at the beginning of December. Just been so distracted with everything else, and you know, when I started building it, I was like, yeah, let's get it done, great, fantastic. And the longer it sat there, I started getting demotivated with it. So I'm glad it's done. I'll probably put it on the table next week for a game, just to add something a bit different to the table. Nice. So anyway, guys, you chuck comments below as normal, what you think. I'm going to be trying to make some sprue terrain next. I've got a few crazy ideas to do, so I'm going to, and I've got a heap of sprues. So I'm going to be trying to do some sprue terrain. Just simple stuff to start with. Just, you know, anyone can do. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button, because it costs you absolutely nothing. Turn your notifications so you don't miss anything. Everyone smash the thumbs up button, search because YouTube shares this video and more people, which makes this amazing community you guys grow even more. Until next time, guys, comments below as always, hit the buttons for me. Take it easy.